And basketball analyst Mark Wise will hit the hard court as they look back on the week that was and look forward to the week that is in college basketball. Hoop, there it is, courtesy of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's full court press time. Here are Steve and Mark.
Hello, welcome once again to another edition of Hoop. There it is. I'm Steve Russell. That is Mark Wise. We're going to talk a lot of basketball today with you. Even a little NBA.
Ooh,
how about Luka Doncic? We'll kind of,
surprised everybody.
Didn't it, though?
Yes.
We'll get into that.
Teammates included.
Yeah, that's true. Zach's our producer today. If you want to ask some questions, you can certainly post them. We will get right to them. Mark, I pulled this stat out.
Oh, you're going to give me a nugget right away?
I am.
Okay, good.
I don't know that I have seen two games against the same opponent that looked the same in the opposite way.
Right.
Florida, the teams combined to shoot 25 of 109, the losers.
Yeah, right.
23%.
Yeah.
The losers combined to shoot 8 of 56 from beyond the arc. That's 14%. Yikes.
A 50-point swing from one game to the next.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our game, okay? And if you've listened to me any over the years, you know that I have this theory about if you play 32 games, you're going to have 2 games where you just you have 2 stinkers. You're going to have 2 games where you shoot lights out for no rhyme or reason. And so you live in the other 28. You grind out the other 28. Well, maybe this was Florida's stinker. I didn't think they played particularly well. I don't think Todd Golden thought they played particularly well. Everybody wants to talk about the shorthanded Vols in terms of Milicic and Ziegler being out. You know, one thing that happens when they play Ziegler and Meshack together, and Ziegler has not shot the ball well at all.
No.
And Meshack is not an outside threat at all. It's really hard for them to score at times. They can be marvelous defensively. So they got a little bit bigger. Gainey played better. And yet I think Tennessee made 6 threes in the game. 5 of them came from one guy.
Right.
He was 5 for 9. Now, he can shoot with – you know, there's some guys that can shoot further out than even you think defensively. And so, hey, coach, my feet are on the line. So I'm pushing him out, but that doesn't matter to Lanier. He's got NBA depth. So it's one of those games that you flush. You better be able to flush. We've seen several teams in the league have trouble doing that. I think of Mississippi State, who played so well against Alabama midweek, had that layup to take the lead, I think, in the last minute of the game, and couldn't recover in time. Missouri went back in there on Saturday and just lambasted them in Starkville. Caleb Grille, who we've talked about on this show this year, I think he made 6 more threes along the way. As I've told you for a couple weeks, Missouri is legit.
They are.
Legit good.
They are. And he's legit, too. He's
got
got range,
yeah,
too.
he's got great range.
All right. As you can imagine, after what happened, we have questions. Questions of the week, brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. Send your questions to questions@gatorshows.com. Here we go, Mark. Fred in Gainesville. Gators 0-11 on the road against top 10 ranked teams. Could it be safe to say we're not deserving of a top 5 ranking?
Well, I would tell you those two don't go together. I would say 98% of the teams in the country are 0-11 on the road against top 10 teams. You don't beat top 10 teams on the road.
That's why they're top 10.
That's why they're top 10. So, winning games on the road against an average conference team would be very difficult. So that's a meaningless stat.
Jersey Mike in Gainesville. Tennessee executed their game plan to perfection, stifling Florida with high-pressure defense, outmaneuvering the Gators' screens while controlling the tempo. Was our coaching staff slow to pivot the game plan?
Well, they weren't slow 3 weeks ago. So, again, Tennessee does blow up ball screens. There's no question about it. They're as physical. They're not the most physical team from 94 feet, But on the half court, on any ball screen action, they're as physical as any team in the country.
Jasper and Gainesville Gators weren't aggressive, showed no hustle, looked like Missouri. They just take the game off.
I don't know. I think I read where Todd Golden was not pleased with the effort. So, again, buys are a funny thing because I think there's a double-edged sword with when you have a bye and you don't play. You're first of all, you're in the rhythm. Every third day, every fourth day, you're going to have a game. But it does allow you to get healthier if you've got nicks and bumps and bruises along the way. Now, in Florida's case, of course, getting Clayton hurt in the game didn't help matters.
No. Selena and Seawalk. Gators shot 24%, 14 from 3, worse than Missouri. Did the bye week, well, we just answered that.
Yeah, just answer that.
Deshaun and Gainesville, like many expecting that run and come back at some point, in Knoxville simply didn't. Was this our worst performance of the year?
You would have to say that. Their two previous losses were by 6 at Kentucky and the 1-point loss at home to Missouri. That's it.
Donovan in Gainesville, Arkansas and Calipari got early boos, left Kentucky with a win. Is Arkansas now a contender in the league?
No. Don't overreact to one game. I want to take a moment, though, to talk about Calipari. Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to come back to that because he's going to be in our show later. Okay. So I'll come back to that.
Okay. Hal in Gainesville, updates on Clayton. How much did it affect the Gator loss?
Well, it didn't impact them early so much, but Tennessee did a great job of establishing tempo. I think it was a 64-possession game. The national average is right around 70. So Florida was never able to get the ball, never able to get going from a transition standpoint. And when you have to score constantly, and this is anybody, when you have to score constantly against Tennessee's half-court defense, you've got a problem. And they didn't have a small guard. Ziegler is a real – in some ways he's a conundrum defensively because he's great on the ball, he's pesty, he shoots gaps, he sees the floor, but he's small. And guys can shoot over him. So they didn't have that the other day.
You're a small guard, right?
Yeah, don't get me started.
Benny in Miami, 21 consecutive games with 79-plus points, no more. How does that rank in the history of Gator basketball?
I wouldn't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a great number, but they only missed it by that much.
Ross in Gainesville. Nate Oates benched Mark Sears.
Yeah.
Star at the time, maybe the SEC to send a message. Do these mind games still work in the NIL era?
I think it's a little bit trickier than it used to be in the old days, but the bench is the great equalizer.
Still is.
Still is.
Andrew in Ocala. Did Bobby Hurley do the right thing, directing his players to the locker room against Arizona?
Yeah, I saw. I went back and looked at some of that. It comes back to officiating. And I just don't want to go there. I mean, they were allowed to jaw the entire game. That's what led to the friction at the end.
See, that's the part about officiating. We can quibble, debate, too many fouls, too few fouls. What you can control that.
Correct.
You can say right away,
correct,
enough.
Well, here's one of the things. Now you've got me going. One of the things that they changed a couple of years ago that I have never understood, and this gets into the mechanics of officiating a little bit. If you call a foul and you're an out official, you actually rotate. It used to be no matter where you were and you called the foul, you rotated away from the benches because you don't want the coaches in your ear, right. Okay? Well, now they made the rule that they made the choice that there needs to be better communication between officials and coaches. So you rotate to the bench. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Now, I was raised an official's son, so I get all the concepts. But that is a ludicrous idea. We don't need more communication between coaches and officials. We need less.
Okay. Teresa in Gainesville, what's the real story with Handlocked and this will he, won't he play is annoying?
I don't know any. I don't have any other details than what you might read in the paper. So
here we go.
Is there still a newspaper? I think there is.
Yep. Wayne in Gainesville, what do you make of DeLuca Anthony Davis trade. When was the last time we were this surprised by a trade? I can't remember.
Yeah, this is like, I don't know. This is maybe the biggest blockbuster trade in NBA history. I still think Anthony Davis is an elite player, even though it's his 12th year in the league. Luka and LeBron together, there's only one of those.
Yeah, it's true. Cody in Gainesville, is Auburn the best team in the country?
Yes, but Duke is very close.
He's been on that bandwagon for
a
while.
Auburn
I give you credit for that.
They 2 back-to-back road wins. Neither one was. I had the game Wednesday at LSU where LSU did something they haven't done all year. They made shots.
I was going to say they scored. Yeah.
They scored. They made 9 threes. They were averaging 5 a game in league play, so that kept them close. But they never, when they made a run the second half, and I think one time they got within 5 with maybe 8 minutes to go, Broom went, nah, this has gone on long enough. And they had a great road win over the weekend at Ole Miss. I think Auburn now has 13 quad 1 wins.
Jeez.
It's just they've lapped the field.
That's crazy.
And Duke, on the other hand, I think has 4, maybe 5, and they have very few opportunities left. I mean, the good thing about, and I did this earlier today, Steve, this is an amazing, we've talked about historically how good the league has been. Let me give you one more perspective. Okay. So on the NCAA team sheets that anybody can access, I'm looking at it right now, they have, this is the same sheet that the committee will look at. And it's on the NCAA website. They have a thing called conference strength of schedule, meaning all teams in the country, where does your conference schedule rank in comparison with everybody else's conference schedule? Okay, are you ready for this? The top 9 schedules are SEC teams. They play the 10th toughest schedule, UCF.
Wow.
Out of the Big 12. And then it's Auburn, Mississippi State, 12-13. I think the only one that out of the top 15 is Washington, who's 15th. Oddly enough, Alabama's is 31st. But the fact that the league has the 9 toughest, Florida, by the way, is 9th on that list. Texas is number 1. South Carolina is number 2, and so on. But the fact that you have the 9 toughest schedules when you compare all conference strength of schedules in the SEC is just, it's mind-blowing.
Let's run through these. Jeremy in Gainesville, how did the refs get graded? What's the reward or punishment for good or bad officiating? Sometimes it just seems very uneven.
I don't think there is any real punishment during the season because they have to work so many games. There's only so many officials, and there's a boatload of games. The postseason is a different story, and that's my concern about the way the game's being officiated, because you will only move on if you're graded out at a high level. The thing that I disagree with, and I've made this known to the powers that be, you can't tell me, well, 93% of the whistles we got right. They were the correct calls, because they brag about that. It's all the non-calls. What percentage of fouls are you missing? Are you not calling?
Okay. Billy in Jacksonville Beach, what games you broadcasting? You and Mike Morgan should do all of them. All the Gator games. Think you're a great team.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Mike and I actually have a bye this midweek, so we're not going anywhere.
You get to rest up, too.
I'm debating, that I have Vanderbilt on Saturday, and Vanderbilt's here tomorrow night, so I'm debating whether to go, and part of me is going, yeah, go watch them, and then the other part of me is like, dude, you're at home. I can tell you, we just got our schedule for the rest of the year, and basically, starting next week, I'm completely gone. I mean, just completely gone.
And you should just
stay home. Yeah, I should stay at home. So anyway, Saturday, Texas at Vanderbilt, 2 teams that are, kind of fighting. They're not in the last 4 in, but last 4 byes, 10 seed. I mean, it'll be a big game.
Patricia in Gainesville, Lenardi has 13 SC teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
Is this the best year ever? Can we get all 13 in?
I would like to say yes, but eventually you're going to eat your own. And so I'm afraid 1 or 2 may fall off. The most from any one conference ever is 11. So that's the record that they're playing with.
Jocelyn and Clearwater, can Olivier play a few games this season, keep his red shirt? Think the sports world and the Gator Nation would go crazy watching him play.
No, you can't play. If you red shirt, let me make sure I get this right. I think it is you can play no more than 30% of your season in the first 50% of the season.
All right, those are our questions of the week, brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. You can send your questions to questions@gatorshows.com. Now it's time for our play of the week, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. When you need a quality plumber, rely on the same company Gainesville's trusted since 1984, Quality Plumbing. Their name says it all.
Did you happen to see the Arizona-Iowa State finish midweek?
Did not.
Okay, Caleb Love for Arizona makes a midcourt shot at the buzzer in the McHale Center to put it in overtime, and Arizona eventually win. As a matter of fact, he's a couple of feet behind midcourt. So just Google Arizona buzzer beater Caleb Love, and you're going to see the shot. I mean, it's pretty spectacular.
You know, the parity in the sport this past week, look at how many ranked teams went down.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was thinking, okay, well, how are they going to come out in the net today? And basically, Tennessee got bumped up, but everybody else just kind of – Houston lost at home to Texas Tech. I won't get all this right. Florida got beat. Let me cheat and look.
In Iowa State?
Iowa State got beat twice. Kansas got beat. So everybody around each other, I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement.
Okay. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more hoop. There it is to come. Stay with us.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, starting Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Hubert. When I was the voice of the Gators, I called championship games, while Quality Plumbing was becoming champions for the Gainesville area.
I'm Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. For years to come, I'll be calling games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for core power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans, let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
You might know that State Farm agent Ruz Agra has great service. He's your good neighbor after all, but did you know that State Farm has surprisingly good rates too? Yep, that's right. Along with good neighbor service, State Farm agent Ruz Agra has surprisingly great rates for everyone in Gainesville and North Central Florida. So call State Farm agent Ruz Agra at 352-240-1779 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
For over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Mi Papá Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete. Some Facebook Live questions here, Mark. Art says, why shouldn't I not jump off the cliff? That was demoralizing. Tier 1's a long way away now.
No, it isn't. Florida's right there. I know I got some feedback on my comment about Tier 1. It might be as few a teams as Auburn and Duke on Tier 1. And then Tier 2's got, I'm going to stand by what I said, it's got 15 teams on it.
I hope I'm right here with Lizzie. Sounds like a great breakdown of the game. Always interesting to hear expert analysis on those matchups, and that's why we have Mark here, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And don't forget, we're broadcasting today from Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. You can watch us live on Facebook or YouTube and listen later. Spotify, YouTube Podcast, Apple Podcast, any of the nearly 40 platforms where you can find your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you can not miss an episode. And again, we are taking questions and comments, so let us know if you want to ask a question, and we will get to it. In the meantime, we will do our Coach of the Week, brought to you by International Diamond Center. Don't settle for a knockoff diamond when you can get the best diamonds at the best prices. For quality, selection, and value, International Diamond Center, the official jeweler of the Florida Gators.
I don't think a lot of people saw Arkansas going into Rupp and winning. They did it in unconventional style for them because they were shooting 28% from beyond the arc in league play. They had only won one league game. And yet they go into Kentucky and make 13 threes in the game and come away with the win. It's interesting because Calipari, as the head coach of Kentucky, always complained that everybody comes in and makes threes against Kentucky. Okay, so it's pretty interesting and ironic that his team, as the visiting team, went there and did the very same thing he complained a lot of years about. Here's the thing I wanted to say about Calipari, and he's like most great coaches in a lot of ways. They're very complicated people. The one thing that was not complicated about him, and I thought the breakup was good for both parties, good for him, good for Kentucky, but he, as a native Kentuckian, one of the things I have always said about John Calipari, he is not a native Kentuckian, but when he took the job, he wrapped his arms around the Commonwealth. I mean, he raised a lot of money. He went and took his team from Paducah to Ashland, from Covington to South Central Kentucky. He canvassed the state. He was great for the state of Kentucky.
Quickly about Kentucky, they're not a good defensive team, are they?
No, and why not? What's the first ingredient you have to be good defense? No. Second. That's second.
Okay.
Good. Team speed.
Okay.
You have to have team speed. They are extremely average.
Okay.
They have some length, but if again, I come back to the same thing I've always said. Hard to have really good pineapple upside down cake without pineapple.
Okay.
And if you don't have quickness, you don't have pineapple upside down cake.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've said that about Florida the last
you have.
3 or 4 years.
You have.
Yeah.
Team of the Week brought to you by Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance. State Farm agent Ruse Ogra is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want.
Yeah. Normally when we talk about the West Coast Conference, the first team that always comes to mind is Gonzaga. Okay. Yeah. But they're 3 games behind the Team of the Week. This Team of the Week also won the league last year and won the conference tournament. I think it's one of the more underrated jobs year in, year out. Team of the Week, coached by Randy Bennett, St. Mary's. They're really good. They're undefeated in league play and have a 3-game lead over both. I think it's San Francisco and Gonzaga. That league's almost over.
Wow. Facebook Live question, how did the early start, 11 a.m. tip-off, affect the Gators?
Seems to me like both teams had the same start time. And so, again, I don't think it played a role.
We'll take a break. We got more roles to play here this next half hour, right? We got more coming up. There it is. Stay with us.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
Fans, don't get sacked by high prices. Join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet. This week at Davis, score big savings on our all-star Chevy selection, the most awarded brand for new vehicle quality, like Chevy's MVP, the new Silverado, with low 2.8 financing and no payments for 90 days. Plus, we're tackling high prices on the area's best GM-certified pre-owned inventory. So join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet on North Main Street.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
Well, we are now in the second half here. The first half was good. Let's hope the second half is just as good. As you tune in here to Hoop, there it is. Sub of the Week. Brought to you by Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover 11 delicious Cuban sandwiches at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami.
My television career started this season with an exhibition game at Ole Miss against Illinois. Illinois did not look very good that day. Had a bunch of new pieces. They've got a couple of outstanding freshmen. One of them's going to be in the top 10 in the draft, the point guard, Yaka Jonas. But they also have a freshman, and they've kind of had a hard time finding a role for him. Does he start? Does he come off the bench? Well, Will Riley the other day, who a lot of people have in the first round of the mock drafts, he goes for 24. Illinois wins at home against Ohio State. And I think Illinois moved to like 7-5 in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten's got a real quagmire in the middle of the league. There's a couple of teams at the top in terms of Michigan State and Purdue, and then they've got a bunch of 7-5 teams. That's going to be an interesting tournament.
Let's do games to look for. Brought to you by Florida Victorious. Game-changing plays, life-changing impact. Florida Victorious, proud partner of the Florida Gators on and off the court.
Well, we talked about Iowa State losing a couple of times last week, including when Kansas State went to Hilton and won in Ames. That nobody does that. Kansas State, I think, was 4 and 5 in the league or something. Iowa State, one of the better teams. Anyway, Iowa State loses twice last week. Their reward on Big Monday tonight, you have to go to Fog Allen and play Kansas. So that's worth tuning in. Tuesday night, the UK at Ole Miss game I find very interesting. Wednesday night, the Missouri at Tennessee. That's surprising Missouri. And then on Friday, St. John's goes to UConn. St. John's, Rick Pitino leading the Big East right now, goes to Danny Hurley. There's got to be fireworks going on there. Saturday, Florida at Auburn. Going to get a lot of national attention. Duke is at Clemson. Clemson might be one of 2 teams, I think, that could beat Duke in league play. Mississippi State goes to Georgia. I think that has huge ramifications for both of those teams. And then Sunday, you got to watch the Super Bowl. It kills me to say that as the basketball guy.
Is the ACC down?
Yes, way down. And if you haven't seen, especially Florida fans, if you haven't seen the way Florida State lost the other day at Boston College, up 4 with 10 seconds to go, and lost because Boston College came down, scored a layup. Florida State threw it away on the inbounds. Guy makes a 3, ball game. Thanks for coming. Wow. It's brutal way to lose.
Wow. Baller of the Week brought to you by Crystal Air and Water. Family-owned and operated Crystal Air and Water services air conditioners, furnaces, boilers, and more for Gainesville, Alachua, and nearby areas. We're not comfortable till you are at Crystal Air and Water.
One of my favorite coaches in the country is Andy Kennedy at UAB, used to be at Ole Miss. If you ever want to spend an hour of just doing nothing but laughing, it would be Andy Kennedy. They got off to a slow start this year. Everybody thought they would challenge Memphis. They have not. They've played better of late, and because of that, they have a double-double machine in Yaxel Lindenberg, and he is averaging better than 17 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, 14 double-doubles on the year, 4th best in the NCAA. He's our baller. He is our baller of the week this week.
Okay. We have a Facebook Live here from Jimmy. Love the show. Can't imagine how difficult outside shooting must be in an arena that's twice the size of most other college venues. I think it's a factor. I'm super proud of our conference. It's impressive for the rise to dominance in hoops.
You know, today's players play in so many different environments. I go back to my old way of thinking. If you can shoot anywhere.
Okay.
I don't think that's a big deal. Now, background might come into play a little bit on when you're playing in football stadiums, but not these arenas.
I want to digress here for a second because it was brought up in one of the questions, Mark. I do want to discuss the Luka Anthony Davis mega trade. De'Aaron Fox was traded to
the Spurs.
Billy Donovan's team. Was also involved in a trade as well. Look, I don't know enough about the NBA to say this was a fleece job or, this happened or whatever. On the surface of it, though, when you trade a guy who's in his prime, I didn't know. I think anybody saw this coming. There are whispers that he doesn't keep himself in great shape. He's missed a lot of games this year.
Right.
The management in Dallas talked about culture. Defense wins championships. I underlined that when I saw it. What do you make of that?
If you're going to trade away that talent, then you've got to feel like the piece that you're getting is so important or is such a missing piece to your puzzle. And Anthony Davis, still to this day, 12 years later, is an NBA player. Name 3 centers in the league that's better than Anthony Davis. I don't think there are any. So you're still getting great value there. The Luka to the Lakers thing, again, that'll be really interesting to see how that works out. The Lakers at times really struggle with pace and like facilitating. Well, Luka's going to help them a little bit. I mean, he is as good at looking ahead as anybody in the league at his side. That's the other thing. People don't understand how big Luka is at 6'8", 6'9". So only time will tell. The shocking thing to me about the trade is that it didn't get out.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody, to my knowledge, nobody knew about it.
No. I did watch the Lakers beat my Knicks the other day, though, in New York. I was not happy with that.
Everybody likes to go to New York and win.
Yeah, especially.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because when you go to New York, when you are the Knicks, not only are you playing your opponent, you're playing the opponent who loves playing in MSG.
Yeah.
Everybody loves playing there.
They do. We'll take a break, come back, much more Hoop There It Is to come. Stay with us.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, starting Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Hubert. When I was the voice of the Gators, I called championship games, while Quality Plumbing was becoming champions for the Gainesville area.
I'm Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. For years to come, I'll be calling games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for core power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with core power.
Fans, don't get sacked by high prices. Join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet. This week at Davis, score big savings on our all-star Chevy selection. The most awarded brand for new vehicle quality, like Chevy's MVP, the new Silverado, with low 2.8 financing and no payments for 90 days. Plus, we're tackling high prices on the area's best GM-certified pre-owned inventory. So join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet on North Main Street.
For over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
And don't forget, Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Good folks at Silverback Concrete. Another Facebook Live here. John says, Gators will be fine. Tennessee had this game circled. They were showing it by their emotion. And they act like they won the championship.
I read somewhere that people were complaining about the Tennessee bench celebrating and they showed it too much and whatnot. I would simply ask Florida fans, do you enjoy watching Micah Hanlogden celebrate on your own bench? It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So,
and what do you expect? What do you expect him to show?
And guess what we're going to show every broadcast I've done? We're going to show emotion on the bench.
Right.
One way or the other.
Let me ask this question as well. How many, especially you, how many times do you see, maybe once in a while, but when Tennessee is going off and are you showing me Florida's bench?
Right. Yeah.
You're not gonna, that's not television.
No.
You're not going to do that.
No, we want emotion.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
lack of emotion.
Yeah.
Let's do our women's basketball check-in brought to you by Meldon Law. With 50 years of experience, the only accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators, Meldon Law, won't back down. Florida needs a win.
Yeah, they play against Arkansas. On paper, a winnable game. But I wanted to talk about the record-setting performances this week. And I know one of them came against Florida, but Michaela Blakes, who went for 53, Georgia Amore at Kentucky went for a record-breaking performance, I think 42 the other day. Those are all well and good. But what I really wanted to talk about was, the WNBA is going to award one more franchise. Mm-hmm. And in the running is Detroit, Houston, and then I think maybe Cleveland. But then there's Nashville. And the Nashville investors include Peyton Manning and Faith Hill, and they already have a name for the team.
I saw it.
The Tennessee Summit.
Yep.
Okay? It's over. That race is over, in my opinion. I think you're going to see a WNBA team in Nashville.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I base that strictly on my own likes for reading that story.
Yeah, but smart.
And Tennessee Summit. Pat Summit.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
You're built-in marketing already.
Yeah, no question about it. Okay, top 4 teams brought to you by Fairlife Core Power. Discover Core Power protein shakes by Fairlife. Explore our 26G and 42G high-protein drinks, perfect for workout recovery and nutrition.
Auburn and Duke, and I'm back at the same point. Everybody lost. I'm not going to punish Houston by losing by 1 in overtime, even at home to Texas Tech. I'm going to move Alabama back in. They played a better non-conference schedule. They've got better wins than most people in the non-conference. So I'm going to put Bama at 4. And then, the next 3 or 4 teams has got to be, Florida, Iowa State, Tennessee, in some form or fashion.
Okay. Let's look at the SEC for just a second. If I said to you, Mark, give me the team that has surprised you the most in a positive way.
Yeah.
Who would it be?
Missouri.
And give me the team that has disappointed a little bit from what you thought the expectation would be.
Probably Arkansas at this point in time, because we know that they have talent. I don't think they're very physical block to block at all, because they're all built the same way. Ivasic, Jonas Adu, Brazil, they're not bangers. Okay. And so I don't think they really have a presence. They haven't shot the ball particularly well. And then Boogie Flan gets hurt and is out for the year. So they're playing shorthanded for the rest of the year, but you make 13 threes, you're going to win some more games. So I did see in Lenardi's latest that they have finally gotten into there's the next 4 out and the next 4 out. Well, they're at the bottom of the second next 4 out group.
Don't forget, you can join us, Campus USA live chat. You can get a hold of us here, Facebook Live, and a lot of other ways as well as we broadcast from Coach's podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille in Celebration Point. Again, you can watch us live, YouTube, Facebook, listen later on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, any of the 39 platforms where you can find your favorite podcast. Like, follow, and subscribe. You don't miss an episode, and we will take your questions and comments on Facebook Live. Just put it in the comment section, and we will read it to you. Florida has a game against Vanderbilt coming up. We'll talk Vandy. We'll talk that matchup and more as Hoop There It Is continues.
Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you. Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans. Let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
All right, we wrap up Hoop There It Is for this week. Florida, Vanderbilt on Tuesday. I think Vanderbilt...
Should I not? Should I go? Should I stay at home? Should I go? Should I stay at home?
Vanderbilt would qualify, I think, Mark, as a surprise team.
Oh, no question. They are, and I'm going to bring this up for people because you need to hear this to like actually understand what I'm talking about. And I'm going to get to Vanderbilt's schedule here in a minute. They're kind of midway through this gauntlet. And, I talked about how difficult conference schedules are. But here is Vanderbilt's schedule that started a couple of weeks ago. Now, remember, they have 2 wins in an 8-day span over Kentucky and Tennessee.
Yep.
2 court stormings and a $500,000 fine.
Yeah. Which they'll pay.
Schools don't have any money.
Right.
And yet you can pay $500,000 for a court storming. I don't understand. All right. So here is this gauntlet that I was talking about in an 8-game span that they're kind of in the middle of. Tennessee, at Alabama, Kentucky, at Oklahoma, at Florida, Texas, Auburn, at Tennessee, at Kentucky.
Ooh.
I mean, it's a brutal
that is
8-game schedule, 8-game swing. It's an interesting mix. They don't have a big guy. They've thrived with playing a lot of 5 out. I've had them, I think, 3 times. They've got 2 surprise. They don't win any warm-up competition.
Yeah.
When they come out and you warm up, you look, and they're not very big. McLaughlin has had a great year, the transfer from Boston College. A.J. Hogarth is a real problem. 6'3", transfer from Michigan State. He attacks the shoulder of a defender, as well as anybody, because he's big. He's physical as a guard, 6'3". But he doesn't try to go by you. He tries to go through you at your shoulders. He's really good at it. They've got 2 guys that you're going to look at and go, wow. but they are such great defenders on ball. They're in the leaders in the league in terms of steals per game, and that's Tanner and Huffman. And then they've got their leading scorer comes off the bench in Jason Edwards, guy that I had in the NIT last year at North Texas. Kind of a sort of like Hubbard from Mississippi State, a real high jump shooter, and he can get hot in a hurry. So Mark Byington, any conversation about, I think, Coach of the Year,
I agree.
He has to be in the mix. Dennis Gates at Missouri has to be in the mix. Bruce Pearl at Auburn has to be in the mix. But to have no team when you took the job and to assimilate the team now, they were ranked last week for the first time since, I don't know, 2000 something. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
They go to Oklahoma and, they play one of their stinkers. So they better be able to flush it. So you've got two teams coming off disappointing losses. So they're both going to have to kind of flush it out or have amnesia and start over on tomorrow night.
Florida goes to Auburn, and I know you've been on their bandwagon since day one. But if for some reason people have not seen Auburn play or don't know a lot about them, Broome obviously is the player I think people know. In your opinion, what makes Auburn so good?
I think Auburn can beat you in more different ways than any other team in the country that I've seen. We did a graphic on this on Wednesday. They have won games in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So they don't really care if they play a 62-possession game or an 82-possession game. Janai Broome is, we did this. Janai Broome, Cooper Flagg, anybody else that wants to apply for Player of the Year, forget it. You're done. The deadline has come and gone. It's between those two guys and those two guys only. Broome is such a, it's like going to the rec league, and there's this old dude, okay, that doesn't really wow you. He's not really overly quick, doesn't really shoot the ball all that well, and he never comes off the floor. His team wins every game. Broome has a little bit of that in him. I think my prediction is a lot of teams in the draft in the NBA are going to miss on him because he just wins. Now you surround him with what I think is an all-star supporting cast, whether you're talking about Chad Baker Mazzara or Kelly and Jones on the perimeter. They come off the bench with two guys, Chaney Johnson, who's playing the best basketball of his career, an older guy, and then Tahad Pettiford, the freshman phenom. It's like Auburn has 7 starters. I mentioned this to Bruce Pearl, and he goes, yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And they do. They have 7 starters. So a really well-rounded team can win in a lot of different ways. So if Florida goes into Auburn and wins, you're going to have to start by making 11 threes as a starting point.
Wow.
All great upsets, where do they start? They start at that 3-point line.
They do.
Arkansas.
Right. Yeah. Who had not been doing that.
Who couldn't shoot it in the ocean and goes to Rupp and finds, 13 threes.
Maybe this is just perception here, Mark, but because we see the SEC so good, because we see the Big Ten be pretty good, you don't hear much about the so-called mid-majors. At least I don't hear about them as much.
Right.
Has a lot of the talent gone from those teams to, the better teams now? Am I wrong in that thinking?
No, they're still older. They've just it's a domino effect.
Yeah, because they get them from
they get the best of what
D2
lower Division I schools. So it's a real domino effect. A program like UC Irvine, who's winning their conference, and the job that they've done year in and year out. I've already talked about St. Mary's. Bradley Dayton is like they've got 4 or 5 league losses. Okay. I've gone blank. It's not VCU at the top, but it'll come back to me. Not Northern Iowa.
It's okay.
Anyway, there will still be 1 or 2 5, 12, 14, 13 upsets.
Okay. I guess the last place I want to go here as we wrap up Hoop There It Is today. I don't want to go into the whole NIL thing because we know what that is. How much, I know the answer you're going to give, how much does that change the sport?
Well, in terms of who gets players, it's switched a little bit because when it was under the table, you kind of knew which programs were under the table, okay?
Yeah.
This is more out in front, so it has allowed more teams to get involved with similar dollars, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. So I do think it's going to be fascinating to watch how the settlement, the revenue sharing works out. I have major doubts that it will ever come to fruition in the way that people envision it.
Why?
Because I think it's going to be football-centric, and it should be football-centric, but I don't know how that's going to hold up in court. How are they going to address Title IX with that? What's going to happen to the non-revenue sports, if you will? So, and then the other part of that equation is you cannot leave it up to schools, in my opinion, to decide who gets what money. I think it has to be at least on the conference level. You can't have, and I'm just using this as an example, don't anybody hold me to this, but you can't have Florida having, in men's basketball, you can't have them having $2 million and Alabama has $4 million. And I could have easily picked two different schools, two different numbers.
Yeah.
But it's just not equitable. So unless we come to some sort of salary cap notion, and that's for all sports, I think it has to be at least conference by conference. I would like it to be nationally, but I just don't know that that's feasible. But even in the Big East, well, don't you think St. John's is a more expensive place to do business than Creighton? So how do you account for that? So it's a very complicated issue.
So have you decided, are you going to go? You're going to stay home?
I don't know. If you're looking on TV tomorrow night, you might see me, and you might not.
All right. That's going to do it for our Hoop There It Is for this week. Thanks to our producer, Zach, for doing his usual terrific job. We thank you for tuning in and joining us also live if you do. We'll do this again next Monday. For Mark Wise, I'm Steve Russell. Thank you very much for tuning in.
We thank you for listening to Hoop There It Is with Steve Russell and ESPN's Mark Wise. Hoop There It Is, a service of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's available for you via podcast at WRUF.com and on the WRUF radio app. Hoop There It Is, paid for by Weeby Marketing and produced by ESPN 98.1 FM, 850 AM, WRUF, the home of the Florida Gators.